suicide has affected you?
Well, I suppose I should start off. In 2008, my son Brian was 17 years of age, and unfortunately he took his own life. And at that time, you didn't really hear of a lot of suicides. They did happen, but you didn't necessarily always hear about them. And but we, from the very beginning, let everybody know that it was suicide. And it was just, it was just really hard because I knew he was struggling beforehand. I had tried really, really hard to get him the help he needed. And unfortunately, that didn't work out. Being honest, when I look back on it, I didn't really believe he was going to kill himself. It sounds really strange, but I wish I had known then what I know now. You know, he was a bit of a devil. I mean, he wasn't, often when people die, they become these perfect people. My son wasn't a perfect person. I have always described him as being a monkey, but he was my monkey. And in some ways he was, he was the most lovable guy, very attached to me. Was different. I have 3 other children. He's 2 older sisters and a younger brother. And he certainly was different to the other 3. And that was going back from the day I think he was conceived. His whole outlook with everybody. He was a little boy. He felt that adults should respect him and things like that. And he couldn't understand why adults could say what they liked to him, but he felt they're disrespecting me, so why should I respect them, and things like that. So, he was a bit of a monkey, as I say, but it was an awful shock at the end of the day.
And what kind of struggles was he having?
As I said, he was different to the other 3 in the sense he was just a totally different personality. What worked with them as regards being the mother and that type of thing didn't work with him. So he was, everything was very black and white with him. I had tried to get him help over the years. He was dyslexic, tried to get him help over the years, but he was unfortunately kept falling through the cracks. And then when he was about 15, I remember he started doing some weed. And it was really, really strange because most people think that when they smoke weed, that will relax you and all the rest. But he had the opposite effect from actually made him quite aggressive. So, and in that year, when once he hit 15, it was nearly like as if he was trying to, because I remember having the conversation with him one time, why are you trying to experience everything in your life all together? That's what it felt like. And so through various things that had happened, he had, of course, tried to eat and different things like that. He had stopped everything and had decided he wanted to go into the army. Passed the physical and then went to do the medical and failed it because they said he was colourblind. He was quite unlucky as a person through his short life. So I decided that I would get his eyes tested, and when I did, 2 opticians did his eyes and said he wasn't colourblind. So I had in my head try and see if I could fight this, and his father had been in the army, and I think there was always that thing where he wanted his dad to be proud of him, and that type of thing. And he had times. As times went on, I started to notice a build-up of his anger, and it was becoming it was affecting the whole family. He wouldn't always be aware afterwards of, not that he wasn't aware, but it was nearly like as if he was shocked of the way he behaved. So I had done what you're supposed to do. I'd gone to my GP. We got him involved in CAMS at one stage, and to be honest with you, they kept pushing, kept saying, "Oh no, we won't take him on now." It ended up that there was a disagreement between calm and out of mental health, because when Brian died, he was 6 weeks off his 18th birthday, and they kept saying that when he's 18, we can sort it out. But unfortunately, that never happened. So, yeah, it was just that build up. And in the middle of all this, on the 30th of July, my father lived with us, and my father died. And I look back on that now, and I realise that sometimes a bereavement in the family can have a massive effect. It can actually affect somebody that's feeling suicidal. So when I look back at that time, I think of the things that we say to each other about grief. So we were saying about my father, for instance, my father's happy now, which implied he wasn't happy when he was alive, which that wasn't true.
Right.
Okay. We were saying things, he's with Maureen now, so he's really happy. That was my mum. And so you have all these things that we say to placate ourselves and to kind of make ourselves, that's just run-of-the-mill things. But a long time after, years later, I realised that when we're saying all these things, if you're not in a good headspace and you're feeling suicidal, and you hear that if I die, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be with people. So it was all that sort of thing. So he did take medication about 2.5 weeks before he died. And he basically, you know what, I think the saddest thing was how scared he was. And I remember he was in the hospital and there were 2 guards outside, and he thought they were there to keep him in. But they weren't. They picked somebody else up. Actually, a man on a bicycle that had cans, and that's why they were there.
Right.
And when they left, he ran out of the hospital. And he was frightened. And it cut a long story short, we eventually got all that sorted out. And then that was the middle of August. And then on the 8th of September, it was a Sunday, and I had been upstairs reading. I heard him coming up the stairs, didn't come into me or anything. Went to his room, and I had a neighbour come in for a cup of tea. I went upstairs to iron, and I had assumed that he was asleep because he had been in Taboo the night before. And so I opened the bedroom door, and I found that he had hung himself.